pleasure for me to be here tonight to celebrate this mountaineering collection. I'm very pleased that my family's here, my wife Nancy, my children. They've been up a lot of these high peaks with me, so thank you for coming. I'd also like to introduce, I don't know, is Phil Powers here yet? No, he's not here yet. Phil is the executive director of the American Alpine Club, and he told me he was going to be here tonight. Just as a resource, if anybody had any questions about the American Alpine Club, it's based in Golden, Colorado, and it's a fabulous organization for anybody involved with mountaineering.
He's coming, Fred. I know he's in town.
Is that right?
You bet.
Good. I'd like to take a few minutes, as Lori said, just to tell you how I got involved with this. About 2 years ago, my wife Nancy asked me if I could give away some of my mountaineering books.
It's true.
I had a little over 2,000 books in my basement library, all of which I've read and reread multiple times, ever since my father gave me Annapurna when I was 10 years old. And I've reread this many times, and I'm sure some of you are familiar with that book, but Maurice Herzog, who wrote that book and the first guy to climb Annapurna, he just passed away this past December at the age of 93. I promised Nancy I would identify those books that I could live without. It was easy. All of my books have become like old friends to me. After several weeks, I was able to gather about 750 expedition books, guidebooks, climbing journals, biographies, autobiographies that I was willing to donate. A bunch of them. So I made a few calls to private schools in Denver that I was familiar with. Nobody was interested in my books. They didn't have enough, and the usual reason was they didn't have enough shelf space left in their library. So, and then Nancy suggested, well, why don't you contact the Vail Public Library? And I thought, wow, that's a good idea. In Loveless Valley, we've been here for 38 years with a home. We live in Denver, but we have a home in East Vail. So I made this call to the library. I talked to Lori. I met with Lori, told her about my books. She said, yes, we're interested. And as a matter of fact, a longtime Vail resident just donated about 200 books to us. And I said, don't tell me who, let me guess. And she looked at me and I said, Dick Connell. And she said, that's absolutely right, how did you know? I said that Dick has been kind of a hero to me ever since I read Americans on Everest in 1964. And so I've been following Tom Hornbein, Willie Unseld, Jim Whittaker, the Wangambu, Dick Connell, for basically all my life. So soon, Nancy and I were having lunch with Dick. His wife, Mary, at the Sonernell, and that was a thrill to me to have lunch with Dick and talk about his climbs, particularly in the Tetons. I poured through Lee Ortenberger's guidebook about the Tetons. Maybe some of you are familiar with that. And I came across Dick's name many, many times when I was climbing in the Tetons. And Dick has 10 first descents in the Tetons. So he is a legend in Jackson Hole. In fact, he spent 15 summers there from 1946 to 1961 being a Teton guide and taking up many people in the peaks. But we're here tonight to celebrate two events. First, the official opening of the Mountaineering Book Collection here at the library. And hopefully all of you have mountaineering books, hiking books. And if you ever decide, well, maybe I don't need all those books, now you know where we have a home. So we're going to grow this library over the years in quality and quantity, and that'll be very special. And hopefully all my books will wind up here someday. And the second thing we're here tonight is the 50th anniversary of the very successful Mount Everest expedition in 1963, of which Dick was a member of. And that expedition put 4 people on the summit, including a first ascent of the West Ridge and the first traverse of the mountain that had never been done before. And Dick made it to the South Col at 26,000 feet. And honest to goodness, folks, and some of you will agree with me, he is one of Vail's treasures right here. Dr. Tom Hornbein, who perhaps some of you may know, he made the first ascent of the West Ridge of Everest in '63. Unfortunately, he could not be with us tonight because he's very much under the weather. I talked to Tom every day the last couple of days because I wanted him to be here tonight to join Dick, but he just couldn't make it because of that. But he did send me an email, and he asked me to read this to you tonight. And Dick, you don't know anything about this. This is what Tom sent me today. Dear Dick, Fred, and all, I regret not being able to be here this evening to recognize the gifts of Dick Connell to the Mountaineering Library collection for the Vail community. I am slowly recovering from a respiratory something that would evoke for Dick memories of Hornbein's persistent, annoying cough while we were on Everest a half a century ago. I will spare the rest of you that bit of nostalgia. I would like to reflect briefly before you embark upon the film about the expedition that Dick and I shared together a half a century ago, Americans on Everest. Before then, I knew Dick mainly by his reputation as a Teton climber and guide. We shared a tent together on the long walk into base camp. I got to watch him perform with dedication and commitment, even after, maybe especially after, Jake Breitensbach's death beside him in the ice wall. To me, Dick and our teammate Dave Dingman characterized the essence of what is meant by the word team in the setting of expedition-style climbing on big mountains in that era. The goal was simply to climb the mountain, to put someone onto the top. It took a community to pull it off to enable Jim Whitaker and the Wangambu to summit on May 1st, and 3 weeks later, Bishop, Jerstad, Unsold, and Hornbein. The two Ds, Dick and Dave Dingman, had an uncanny knack of being in the right place at the right time to help pick up the pieces, to get tired, bedraggled climbers down off the mountain in one piece. We all figured some of us might get to the top, but we also knew many, perhaps most of us, would not. The success of those who summited was also our success in helping to get them there and safely down again. I want to share this perspective because I know that Dick will not. He is unassuming almost to a fault. So many wonderful things evolved from our time playing together on this high hill that have enriched my life beyond anything I could have imagined. Thank you, Dick, and you too, Mary. So as Lori said, our new mountaineering library here has about 600 books in it right now. And any duplicates that were discovered, I took to the Vail Mountain School. And they started a mountain climbing library there as well. One of the things I thought I would do tonight, I've done this before, just for fun, is can all of you remember the first book you read about mountain climbing? If you think back for a moment. Yes? Yes?
I think it was Annapurna.
Annapurna.
Well, James Ramsey Elmer with the novels.
The White Tower?
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Yes?
Does Heidi count?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my daughter. Anybody else? Well, here are 10 of the most popular mountaineering books ever written. And I won't take these in any particular order. Annapurna, which you have copies over here. As I said, this is what got me started. I've reread this 5 or 6 times and had the pleasure of actually meeting Maurice Herzog back in 2003 in San Francisco. Americans on Everest, published in 1965 after the expedition, and James Ramsey Ullman did a fabulous job of documenting the entire expedition. Another book by James Ramsey Ullman, The White Tower, which is set as a novel in Switzerland, and some people think, maybe the Matterhorn. perhaps the greatest alpinist in all of Europe. And Wolfe just died in 2011, but he made some incredible climbs, including the north face of the Matterhorn in 1965, solo and the wintertime. Everest the West Ridge by Tom Hornbein, just a classic book, along with Americans on Everest. Got people thinking about mountaineering and a wonderful story. K2, The Savage Mountain, story about the 1953 American expedition on K2. The White Spider by Heinrich Howard. This is the first ascent of the north face of the Eiger, and this is the whole history of the Eiger. And of course, Heinrich Howard went on to try to climb Nanga Parbat in 1939, and then he got captured by the British, got put in a POW camp in India, escaped from that, went to Lhasa, Tibet, and became the mentor of the Dalai Lama, and then wrote the book 7 Years in Tibet. Scrambles Amongst the Alps, 1860 to 1869, Edward Wimber, first man to climb the Matterhorn. He wrote this book when he was 31 years old and lived another 40 years. But, Touching the Void. This is required reading for many, many high school kids across this country right now. A wonderful, harrowing story about two guys trying to climb a 21,000-foot peak in Peru, and on the descent, one slipped and slowly started to pull the other one off. Joe Simpson and Simon Yates had to cut the rope, or else he would have been pulled off. And it's just an incredible story. They both lived and went on to climb other peaks. And Into Thin Air by John Krakauer. Everybody remembers this book of the 1996, there's Phil Powers. 1996 expedition or the whole disaster on Everest when 12 people died. And John did a great job with that. So those are the, I think, the most popular books. Annapurna, incidentally, has been translated into 40 different languages and has sold over 11 million copies. And then for us here in Colorado, of course, we have Bob Orm's Guide to the Colorado Mountains, and this still remains today the Bible for many hikers and climbers. This was the first edition, written in 1952 in a kind of a small format, and this is the 10th edition that people now buy. So it goes through the whole history of Colorado climbing and all the peaks. So that's all I have to say. As I say, hopefully my books someday will be there. Are you listening, kids? That's my wish. So, Lori?
You know, one thing I forgot to mention